Hello, welcome to Venture Matters TV. This series is initiated by Care Asia, a media brand under 36KR Global, covering innovation news in Asia in Chinese, English, and Japanese. Venture Matters TV was launched to provide insights about Asian investment patterns and cross-border opportunities. Through this TV series, we will invite top investors active in their fields to share their opinion on global market trends. Today, I'm very excited to host William Gozali. He is the Chief Investment Officer at BRI Ventures, a 250 million fund US dollar backed by Bank BRI, one of the largest banks in Southeast Asia, investing in Southeast Asia's best companies. Prior to joining BRI Ventures, William also led the investment division of MDI Ventures, the corporate venture capital initiative by Telkom Indonesia, focusing on growth stage companies globally. Working together with Indonesia's largest telco and largest bank gave him deep knowledge and understanding on how to crack Indonesian market. So without further ado, I'd like to greet William Gozali today. Hello, William. How are you today?
Hi, Sarah. I'm good. Thanks.
Yay.
It's really a pleasure to be invited.
Yay. Thank you. Happy to have you here as well. So yeah, did I introduce you properly, or is there anything you want to add? Actually, maybe you can start from your background, how you got into VC in the first place.
Yeah. So thanks, Sarah, and yeah, hi everyone. So yeah, joined the VC industry back then in late 2011, 2012. Back then it was pretty early, and I think it was a bit accidental because I was in my last year of college, and the things are happening. The startups wave, because if you all remember, all the unicorns in Indonesia was born in 2009, 2010. So it was very early. Nobody really gets the idea yet, and who are willing to take the risk except for college students, right? So I'm willing to take the risk to jump into this industry, which is very nascent back then. And yeah, turns out it's been a ride. I've been enjoying the ups and downs of the industry, and here we are. So it's 2020. A lot of things has grown since then. Yeah.
Okay, yes. So I think first thing first, let's talk about what has shaped Indonesia's digital landscape and today's deep local market understanding. I believe you know it well. So yeah, as a seasoned investor in the region and the witness itself of Indonesia's digital landscape, how do you see today's situation? What are some of the overarching changes that have stood out in your perspective? And yeah, maybe you can share with us some of these changes changed your own investment outlook and perspective on business models and technology.
Yeah, so we've gone through a lot and through a long way. So in terms of number of companies, number of investments, number of investments amounts, of investment size, number of serial entrepreneurs, it's a lot. And I think the quality of founders built over time through experience, through tough times, I think that's the most notable ones. And I think that's the most significant progress for our tech ecosystem. And right now you see like founders who have exited, they invest back to the community, they invest back to the startups, like even all the unicorns, they have their investment arms investing in startups. Back then it was unthinkable. I still remember in 2012, 2013, for the whole year, it was only 30 deals in Indonesia. So it was like only 30 companies who got funded in Indonesia the whole year. And I still remember back then, venture capital wasn't even a job. So when I hang out with my peers, they ask me like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Investing in companies, in a risky companies." So what do you get? So what if the company failed? I say like, "Yeah, that's the nature of the company. That's the nature of the business. Only 5% succeed." He said, "Wow, that's crazy stuff." And yeah,
Yeah.
so now a lot of people are joining the VC bandwagon. A lot of media coverage and a lot of things like this. I think it's really helped.
Yeah. Okay. Do you think that Southeast Asia's ecosystem, especially Indonesia, of course, is developing its own culture? If yes, in what aspects can startups and capital funding can continue to learn from other more mature ecosystems?
Yeah, for sure. So considering our uniqueness, the characteristic of Indonesia itself, we're such a diverse country, very spread. And I think we have our own color because a lot of people are comparing us with the ecosystems like in China, in India, because of the number of populations. But I think it's more than numbers. It's
Yeah.
more on the behavior. So like a lot of we have the bonus demographic and others. So it kind of shape the ecosystem differently. And I think what we can learn from the other major ecosystem are patient capital. So I saw the previous episode about venture matters from
Yes.
MUIP, Suzuki-san. He
Yes,
mentioned like
Suzuki-san.
from Japanese companies, yeah, we co-invest in one company together. So it's a pleasure to know him personally too. So like
Ah,
he mentioned like Japanese capital are patient capital. So I think that is something that we can learn on because if you think about it, Indonesia startup ecosystem is still early. Let's just
yeah.
count all the unicorns they started in 2009, 2010. So it's just passing its 10th year. So we're just entering our second decade. So it's still a
Mhm.
teenager. And I think, of course, we need patient capital. And next is smart money. From we learn from other major ecosystem is like, how can we add value beyond money? Because
Mhm.
money is starting to become commodity here in the Indonesia ecosystem because a lot of foreign investments pouring in. So, startups are not that hard to raise money these days compared to 5, 6 years ago. But uh, whether the money can add value or not to develop the business is a different thing. So I think we need to keep improving ourselves in terms of patient capital, about smart money, how founders can work together with investors in this ecosystem. So because as an investor, I think we view founders are equal partners, right? Because we both shape the ecosystem.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Interesting insight. Yeah. Now, I would like to go to BRI
Yeah,
Ventures. Well, you've been there since the day one, right? I mean,
yeah.
you help with all the start as well.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about BRI Ventures investment thesis?
So yeah, technically BRI investment thesis, we have our mantra that we mentioned in our site and in every event that is value over valuation. It means
Mhm.
we believe in real value creation and we ourselves aspire to be a strong value add investors to our portfolio companies, to our investees. We invest in sectors that we call fintech and earth. Earth is the acronym of 5 pillars
Alright.
that we like. It's like the educations, agriculture, retail,
Ah,
transportation, and healthcare. But I think simply put, let's we can talk more about that later on. But I think
mhm,
value over valuations, the simplest way to describe it is like if we got the chance to select. This is just a simple overview, right? If
mhm.
we
Yeah.
got the chance to invest in one company, company A in 5 years the value will go 10x with zero revenue. Company B in 5 years the company will go 5x with 5 million revenue. We'll go with company B. Even though the valuation upside it's just 5x
I
rather
see.
than 10x, but it gets more revenue. For us, revenue means a validations. It means a validation of value. Someone's value your goods or services, someone's value you as a company, customers value you as a company, and they're willing to pay. That's a real value creations because sometimes, valuations just reflect the perceptions of value. It's the future,
Mhm.
but validations, revenue, it means the real value created now. So I think that's what we think. Like we prefer value over valuations. We want to make real value rather than just paper money.
Mhm.
So that's basically
Okay.
the principle.
Value over valuation. Noted.
Yeah,
Yes. And now with the network that BRI has, I mean, everywhere in Indonesia there must be BRI, right?
yeah,
But still, Indonesia is the third largest unbanked population in the world after China and India, much of which is concentrated in rural communities. For a long time, I think very long time, large
yeah.
portions of rural Indonesians did not have the access to financial products, right? So you mentioned in your brand vision that BRI Ventures wants to help accelerate Indonesians' financial inclusion. What's the strategy for this?
Yeah, so a little bit of context about BRI Group. You're right. Like We are
Yeah.
the oldest bank in Indonesia. I think this year it's Bank BRI 125th birthday. So even older than Indonesia itself.
Yes,
So
correct.
like as the largest and the oldest institutions, like all this know-how and experience in running financial services has been proved valuable to us as one of the subsidiaries. And it's been the effort for many years that we want to empower all Indonesians, all in rural areas in Indonesians to get access to financial services. Therefore, we can improve the society as a whole. So, Bank BRI Ventures, we channels this leverage of conventional banking through our portfolio. So we invest in digital fintechs and other fintech enabler. So we can match the speed, the agility with the experience of our parent company. So we can deliver services in a more efficient way. So far, I mentioned multiple times about value
Yes.
creations, about synergy. So I think that's what we live for as a BRI Ventures. So we work together with portfolio companies to bring access to new market to our financial products, and turns out it works out well because Bank BRI they has the coverage, and us to our portfolio we have the technology to access to new opportunity. So like the data, the credit scoring, so
Yeah.
like the non-traditional data that we can leverage, it can enrich the existing foundation set up by Bank BRI. Therefore, we offer a new product to customers. Our DNA is we want to be customer focused. So like the boss is the customer, the jury is the customer. So like how can we deliver the product and service that they need, and
Mm-hmm.
we work together in a hyper localized use cases. So we see a lot of segments, like for example the agriculture segments that need financial
Yes.
product, the retail segments, the creative ecosystems, the SMEs, and even the micro and
Mm-hmm.
ultra micro SMEs. So by working together with fintech companies, we kind of like disrupting ourselves. We keep over and over until we can bring the best to our companies, because we see this relationship with fintech are complementary, and I think customers will be benefit the most.
Yeah. So using the technology to bring
Yeah.
the fragmented market together in Indonesia.
Yeah, yeah, we're
Yeah.
still just scratching the surface because, if you think of it, like 60% of the populations of Indonesia are still in Java Island. So the
Yes.
opportunity, it's still endless. So even when we talk about rural, there's still a lot of new areas that we haven't unlocked yet through our portfolio companies. So that's why we need to work together to tackle this problem.
Yeah. A lot of problems. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Problems means opportunity,
Indonesia.
right? So that's why.
Right? Oh yeah, wow, great.
Yeah,
Okay, Indonesia, we've been identified as a hot market for many VCs
yeah,
and large tech giants as well, including those from other countries like China, for example, and Financial,
yeah.
Alibaba, JD, etc. Do you see the presence of these players as a competition, or is there room for collaboration?
Yeah, so interesting questions. So like we think the nature is more on competitive collaborations. So it doesn't feel like answering, right? No, so uh, yeah, yeah. We think it on a micro basis, on daily basis. You can feel it like competitions. Being a competitive person myself, so I think competition push the players to be better, right? So
Mm,
we're working on more how we can deliver more to the customers, but our focus is never on the competitors but on the customers. But on the macro level we see it more as a collaborative angle, because through competitions we try to prove ourselves, we make ourselves better, and eventually one way or another we collaborate, because I think you know these cases, even in China, there's
mm,
a lot of cases that two investors investing in one companies, and in other portfolio they compete head to head. So like the ecosystem is still early. We need more players the better. And I think at the end of the day, in some areas, consolidation will make more sense. So collaboration. So I think it really depends on the case by case basis, but we see it more. And in some industry, there's a winner takes all. In other industry, maybe winner takes most. But I think a lot of industries, it's like it's not a zero sum game, which means like two, three, even five players can coexist together, especially considering the fragmented market of Indonesia. So we think all the foreign players as collaborators. Yeah.
Nice, great. Okay. Well, there are a few cases, at least in Southeast Asia, where
Yeah.
CVCs co-invest with tech giants. Can you share with us more about this?
Yeah. So I think it makes sense co-investments because startups, we are in a risky business, a high risk business. So that's why co-investment makes sense to diversify and to spread the risk. Like if the portfolio companies have more investors, they have more source of funds, they have more leverage to the table. So I think that makes sense for us to co-invest. Even as BRI Ventures, our approach is like we want to co-invest with other strategic partners. So because it will help to minimize the risk of our investments, and the more strategic value add to that can be brought to the table, that will be great. We do this like not only from investment level but through other initiatives as well. So if you see it in the market, we've run several programs with other players too. We take part in like incubators, accelerators with other players too. Like recently in the media, we work together with Grab in the Grab Velocity program. So how we can incubate, because we have the shared visions. So I think as long as we have the shared visions, we are keen to work with multiple partners. Like currently, we up and coming, we're working with Daily Social as launchpad mentoring sessions. We also participate at Sinhan Future Lab as a mentor. So as long as we met somebody with the shared visions, why not to collaborate?
Collaboration. Okay. I heard about your recent find, which is Sembrani Nusantara, right? But let's go to that question later. I will make it my last question.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to ask about social impact. I think I've read and I've heard in some articles of BRI that you guys are focusing on business that also make a social impact. Could you share how you assess the effectiveness and potential of such social impact? I mean, like, how do you do the judgment itself?
Yeah, thank you. So, yeah, I think it's been our mission too. Besides, like economic, financial inclusion is one thing, economic inclusions, and also the other social impact is our agenda, especially us as part of state-owned enterprise family. So I think while we're not an impact fund by itself, but we believe that every investment must provide like a greater good for the society. So we shared the value of giving meaningful social impact to our companies, and I think by having a that's why we mentioned like earlier, like value versus valuations. We want to have like sustainable growth to our portfolio companies. It means like if they are sustainable, they can give other values and more benefits to other stakeholders, customers, employees, investors. And in fact, we divide our investment segments through multiple categories, like creative ecosystem. We want to contribute to the SMEs, because the cases is like SMEs, let's just like people in the creative industries, let's say musicians. Sometimes they have an interesting business, promising business, but it's intangible. So they don't have assets, they don't have collateral. So when they apply to banks, most of the time they might be rejected. That's why we work together with portfolio companies that can cater this creative ecosystems for SMEs that can give them more access, so they can, they can be creative, they can build, they can keep on going in their respective sectors, because we see the impact. We've been talking creative economy for some time in Indonesia. That's one of the thing. That's one of the example that we're going after the creative economy. And the next one, of course, SME. It's the DNA of Bank
Yes.
BRI. How
Yeah.
because Indonesia, we the we are so diverse, and we believe like you need the local wisdom in each area, in each series.
In each
How
area.
you
Wow, that's
build
a lot.
business, it's it's very unique, right? It's hyper local. How you
Yeah.
market your
Yes.
product in
Yes.
Jakarta, in Java, even in other
It's
island can be
different.
totally different, right?
Yeah.
So that's why
True.
we want to contribute by having like the incubation program, like the SME
Mm.
center, to help them, with the basic needs, the basic knowledge of running business and how they can be up to date, how improving their capacity in each of their segments. It can be very very unique. And the other one is like uh, agriculture, let's say, because
Mm.
Indonesia is an agri-maritime country, so it's
It
the
is.
segments that needs to be tailored specifically too. So I think by we have each of our portfolio tackling those different segments, and we see the
Mm.
impact is pretty clear, like both on the bottom of the pyramid or the missing middle, which means like the
Mm.
growing SMEs, but they still lack the access. So I think this kind of impact, not just on the financial impact that can be seen in balance sheet, the value creations,
Mm.
I would say, like not just reflected in revenue, but on job creations and how the snowball effect, like, by creating job creations, they empower their ecosystems, their surroundings, their neighborhood, and it can
Mm.
go more into snowball effect, and it can be a movement.
Yes. How do you see the eastern part of Indonesia? So I mean, when you mentioned about
Yeah,
how every places in Indonesia is different and tailored one.
yeah,
Do you guys have you guys done something in the eastern part of Indonesia, for example? I mean, we are a lot of concentrated in Java Island, and
yeah.
yeah, I would like to know if you guys have some program in the other islands.
Yeah, so we have programs in all across the islands, even specifically BRI Ventures. We have some sort of units in Eastern Indonesia's, in NTT, in Nusa Tenggara Timur, in Kupang City. So like we realized like in those area, actually the natural resources are very good for handcraft, like
Mm.
the rotan stuff that
Yes.
can be, it can be capitalized, it can be leveraged even to international market. So we see every resources in every series differently, and specifically, like we said, for examples, like in the eastern part, like I said, in NTT, in Nusa Tenggara Timur,
Mm.
there's a lot of handcrafter, the rotan, the materials are really good there. So many people just see it as like the source of supply, but we see how we can, bring
Right.
empowerment to the communities, to the local communities, so they can add
Mm.
value. So not just as a natural resources source of supply, but
Yeah.
as a value creator from that cities. So I think that's one of the examples. Even in talking about food, in every series
Yes.
there's a
Culinary.
traditional
Yes.
food. That's a culinary. So I think that's also the unique aspect that we can help them to scale. So like, sometimes when you travel out of holiday, you
Yeah.
just miss the
That's true.
cuisines in certain area, and now you cannot travel, you kind of miss that, you want to order that something. But yeah, we, through our portfolio companies, later on we plan to help them give a boost in scale. So we gave more reach. So I think that's one of the example, like traditional cuisines, traditional
Yes.
resources in every country. So we can capitalize on them together.
Okay. Well, yeah. At the heart of it, though, investing
Yeah,
in a startup is still a returns-driven decision, right? How
yeah,
do you advise your portfolio companies or startups founders who
yeah,
are watching
yeah.
in finding a balance, creating social impact versus building a profitable business?
Okay, so it's an interesting question. Well, it's a complicated answer, but a simple way to do it, I think, uh, so far, this might sound cliche, but being customer obsessed. So as a startup founders, you may heard from time to time VCs mentioning about product market fit, scalability, and others. But
Mm.
I would say, like, if you're customer obsessed, uh, if you really give them things that they value, like they will do their best. They will, they will also, they are willing to pay first and foremost, like they are willing to pay so you can create a sustainable. But if you always ask why 5 times, that's my, my rule of thumbs,
Okay.
whether my rule of thumbs and my tips for startup founders, like why do they need your product? Why you, out of all other competitors, why you, why it's now, and why they should keep your product, and why should they tell others to use your product. So I think ask why at least 5 times to really go deep into the problem. So if you really know the problem, the rest, it's just a snowball effect and network effect. So like if you make your customers happy and you're obsessed with them, like what are their needs? So I think a lot of startups, massive startups right now, they start with customer problems. Once they solve it, uh, it's like the common terms is like makes either your product vitamin or aspirin. Vitamin you can still live without it. It's good to have, but if you don't consume it, it's kind of okay. But aspirin, you really need it desperately to solve your pain points, right? So that's it. The third category, it's kind of controversial, like vitamin, aspirin. The third one is drugs. So like you want to use it over and over
How
again,
do you
but
want to? Okay.
yeah,
I was about to
the
ask,
third
how do you?
kind of harsh, but yeah, I think just let's stick with vitamin and aspirin. So yeah, it's
Yeah, I
blended.
think better, better so.
Yeah, just
uh,
intermezzo, okay?
okay, okay,
Okay,
no
all
problem.
the viewers, please proceed with caution. Okay.
Yeah, that's correct. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's impossible to go further financial inclusion without the support of government as well. And
Yeah.
BRI as one of state-owned bank, Indonesian bank.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. Can you share if you guys BRI Venture and Indonesian government have worked hand in hand, to achieve more social impact or to do the business?
Yeah. So I think even during these tough times, like there's a lot of government program about the PEN, like the Pembangunan Ekonomi Nasional. So like how they can distribute supports to the society through multiple channels. And I think this is something that is ongoing. So we're working together with startups how we can deliver the benefits really to the real beneficiary and to the target that is this time. So I think we see uh, in this ecosystem this is a quad helix ecosystems, right? The academics, the business, the civil, the societies, and the government. So I think everybody needs to take part, and I think like the government has rolled a lot of initiatives so far, and yeah, the message is all of us, we need to take part.
Mm.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what other way can the private and public sector influence each other and involve fintech, especially, and financial inclusion in Indonesia? You think?
Yeah, so we see the trends of embedded finance in Indonesia specifically. Like you may not start as a fintech, you may not start as a fintech companies, financial services companies, but the need of financial services is imminent in Indonesia, right? So we saw this with the unicorns. All of them started maybe just like a transportation provider,
Yeah.
like e-commerce provider, but turns out they're branching into payments because it's like real it's like the blood of the business, right? People needs the access to funding, access to. So I think uh, financial services need is getting real and stronger every day. That's why working with multiple parties is the key at this point.
Yeah. Okay. So it's
Yeah.
collaboration at the end as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now I'd like to go back to Sembrani Nusantara. You
Yeah.
guys announced this fund earlier this year, and this is to invest outside of fintech,
Yeah.
like into education, right, healthcare,
Yeah.
etc. As a CVC, I think, yeah, it's natural that you guys would invest in fintech. But,
Yeah.
but with Sembrani Nusantara, how do you see the more diverse portfolio complementing to overall vision of BRI Ventures, which is to accelerate financial inclusion?
Yeah, so we think like talking about expansion beyond fintech, again, it's diversifications because in a risky business, it's good to diversify your portfolio. And of course, by design, we try to design our portfolio in a diverse way. So even like in one company, they have a diverse business model too. So they don't rely in one or to one business model only and not only rely on one market segment only. So I think diversification is the key, is our approach in investments. That's why we see like the 5 sectors. So if I may repeat again, it's like education, agriculture, retail, transportation, and healthcare, earth. These sectors we see like they are hyper local sectors. You need local understanding and local presence to really crack this market. Like education, you need to understand the curriculum, right? So agriculture, you need to know, the nature of each series like agriculture. Retail, you need to understand how the supply of goods moves here.
Yeah.
Transportation, you need to understand which are the routes. And healthcare, you also, it's like similar like fintech, it's deeply regulated. So we think these 5 sectors are the sectors that we have advantage. We have distinct advantage over foreign players. So this is the sector that we think we can add value to the companies, and these sectors that we can win over other players because we have experience in Indonesia. Even Bank BRI is 125 years old, and this experience and knowledge proved to be a clear advantage over other investors and players. And like I said, it's embedded finance. We see the need of financing in these 5 sectors are real. Educations, the need of student loan, let's say, student loan, how we can cross subsidize. Agriculture, to the each segments they need financing right before the harvesting season. Retail, how we can provide supply chain financing for them because they need to produce goods. And other transportations, like when you go in a trucking business, when you go you might go full capacity, but when you return it might be empty. And before you go, you're moving goods, you need cash to go up front to fuel and others. Healthcare, like for example the installment and how we can provide access to financials to those in need. That's why we see like the needs in financial service are real in these 5 sectors. This is hyper local sectors that we can cover. That's why we launched Sembrani Nusantara. It's the name from local folklore too, right? So it's like
there's a meaning, right?
Horse,
Philosophy behind it.
Yeah. There's a horse that is the horse of Batara Wisnu. It's like the folklore of Indonesia. So like it's Indonesian. It's a horse anyway, right? It's our own unicorn because in the startup world, a lot of people are familiar since 2013 are familiar with the terms unicorn, mythical creature. It's also mythical creature with local taste. And the aim is how we can solve problems in Indonesia. Aspirin over vitamin. The third one, let me clarify, like it's drugs. It's you're addicted to it, but it brings negative effect to you. So like, vitamin, it gives positive effect, and we want to really solve problems and in a positive way, not just destructive.
In a positive way. So no drugs,
All
right.
Don't do drugs,
well, don't do drugs. That's a message for everyone to watch. Is there any, this will be my last question. So I mean, your next strategy, I mean, for BRI Venture, is there anything you want to share? Like what's next? Maybe this year is quite anomaly or whatever you want to share in the long or short term about BRI Venture.
This is a special year and very unusual. And during these tough times, we try to support like the ecosystem in general. And I think, like I said, beyond problem, there lies opportunity, and scarcity is the mother of invention. So when you are really scarce in conditions, like scarce in cash runway, you start to be creative, right? So it's the mother of invention, and we see a lot of opportunities. We are going to be more active in the ecosystem, both in investing or in terms of educations, in terms of sharing knowledge, like incubation program and others. I think that's the area that we want to improve and to for the ecosystem in general. And yeah, I think we just need to really focus on the value, on why the company exists for all the entrepreneurs. Remember, ask 5 whys to yourselves, to your
Yes.
team, to the customers. So uh, be, because I think this is the chance to prove like if we can go through these tough times, and we have the why, the how, and the what will take care of itself. So I think that's the message. That's the characteristics that we look to a companies, to a founders, how we can, it's not expected to be easy. Startup journey is
Yeah.
hard. It's just this
Yeah.
year it makes it even harder, but I think it's already reserved, like all the difficulties, all the tough times, but it's just a matter of how we can be focused on our customer, we can focus on our companies, on our team, and keep expanding. That's, I think, the outlook is bright, because this year might be a reset a bit,
Mm-hmm.
but I think the overall outlook is positive. All the macro factors are there, all the talents are still there, and I think besides, in fact, like in terms of digital companies, technology startups, like the digital adoption is moving forward faster. So I think
Yes, that's true.
we need to ride the storm in a positive way. So regardless of the situations, I think we can
Yeah.
still respond positively.
Yeah. So it's gonna be only better market after this
Yeah.
pandemic or
Yep.
tough time. All
Agree.
right. William Gozali, thank you so much for your insight and for your time. We really appreciate this. Yes.
Yep.
And for you who are here watching us, thank you so
Yes.
much for watching our series today. As we have come to the end of Venture Matters Division 1, Season 1, we would like to thank all our guest speakers from episode 1 until this one, episode 10. This will be our last episode for Season 1. We would like to thank you, our audience members as well, for the support, our communities. If you want to recap our previous episodes, you can check them on our YouTube channel. And there is more content in the works at Care Asia. So stay tuned to our newsletters, to our socials. And see you everyone soon.